to a quad.
Because let's be real. On the old WNBA front, this is the most relevant the league is going to be for the next couple of weeks. Because we can be honest, during a couple of weeks, Caitlin Clark is out injured. Doesn't matter what happens. Does not matter what happens. No one.
The WNBA is in the spotlight again, but this time, it's not because of bad calls or hard fouls. It's something more serious. Stephanie White just gave an update on Caitlin Clark's injury, and the uncertainty in her voice has left fans deeply worried.
Groin injury, how much of an absence do you expect from her beyond today?
Yeah, late last night. I think it's very much a day-to-day thing, how she responds to treatment. I stay in my lane and let our strength and conditioning and our physical, our AT staff do what they do best. But yeah, I found out late last night, and then we'll treat it day to day.
Back-to-back a factor at all with that?
I mean, I don't know if it's a factor from a physical standpoint, from an athletic training standpoint. Certainly in my mind, it is. But at the same time, she's shown that she's tough and she's a quick healer. So.
A harsh reality is setting in. Caitlin Clark has been repeatedly targeted all season, and now it's caught up with her. The league's biggest star is injured, and while no one saw it coming, maybe the warning signs were always there.
How much patience do I need to have before I can start going nuclear? Because I am getting very frustrated with what I am seeing. To everybody that said Caitlin Clark didn't look like herself, salute to you. For everybody that said Caitlin Clark might be going through something, salute to you. Clearly, you all saw what that person that stands there like this can't see. We all saw what was going on. Man, something's not right.
When Stephanie White took the podium to talk about Caitlin Clark's sudden groin injury, fans didn't get the confident update they were hoping for. Instead, they saw a coach who seemed unprepared, giving vague answers that only raised more questions than they answered.
Reported yesterday, like her pain in the left groin.
It had to have been at some point during the day because they took her out yesterday, for the MRI. So I'm not exactly sure. I didn't hear about it until we heard from our training staff last night.
And with the MRI, did it show a strain or anything? Or
I don't. You'll have to ask her.
Last night, White revealed that she only learned about Clark's injury after being contacted by the training staff Wednesday evening, even though Clark had already felt pain and undergone an MRI earlier that day. The timeline was alarming and didn't reflect how injuries are usually handled by a professional organization.
Back. And within rushing her back, she re-injured that same quad. And then you rushed her back again. And then within rushing her back, she was forced to put pressure and put stress on different areas surrounding that quad. That leads us to our most recent groin injury. I don't need a degree to think for myself. If you've ever been to the gym, you got some chest pain, next thing you know, you got some shoulder pain. Why? Because instead of using your chest muscle to do the exercises, you compensate and start using your shoulder.
What made White's press conference even more unsettling was her repeated admission that she'd been kept in the dark. "I'm not exactly sure. I didn't hear about it until we heard from our training staff last night," she said, revealing a troubling disconnect between the medical team and the coaching staff when it came to their star player.
She's dealing with a lot herself, right? Stephanie White. Of course, she's missed, 2 games so far because of personal issues. So I don't necessarily know what her personal issues are. Hopefully it's nothing like DeWanna Bonner's. But nonetheless, she's dealing with some things of her own. So maybe it's a tad bit difficult to keep up with every single thing that happens with her players. And then, of course, she got this news late at night. So I don't know what time this could have been. It was posted early in the morning. So, she's probably just now getting into the facility and trying to figure out what's going on with Caitlin. Let me see the MRI. What happened with the MRI? They probably caught her right before she can get off.
The situation around Caitlin Clark's latest injury has taken a troubling turn, especially when compared to how her previous quad injury was handled. Back then, Coach Stephanie White gave clear, detailed updates about Clark's recovery and possible return, giving fans and media some sense of reassurance. But this time, the updates are vague and unclear, offering little comfort. The lack of solid information has many wondering if this injury is more serious or more unpredictable than anyone is letting on.
When she says you have to ask our training staff, are any of us really going to get the opportunity to actually talk to a training staff member? I don't think that actually is going to happen. So like what Stephanie White is doing right there is basically saying, I can't tell you, even if I could tell you, it's not going to be announced through me. It's going to be announced just how they announce everything else. They're going to announce it through a press conference. They're going to announce it through a press release, a tweet with the information. These organizations are very private, especially with, the injury information, because people go.
Clark's groin injury didn't come out of nowhere. It's the result of months of physical punishment that the WNBA has failed to properly address. The timing makes it even more troubling, especially after that controversial game against the Connecticut Sun, where she was poked in the eye by JCS Sheldon and blindsided by Marina Mabrey. Since returning from her quad injury on June 14th, Clark has been pushing through what can only be described as a nightmare stretch. Her shooting has plummeted just 1-for-23 from three-point range in her last 3 games. Her 6-point performance against Seattle, where she had more turnovers than points for the first time in her career, now looks less like a slump and more like a clear warning sign that was ignored.
Clark does not need to play another game until she's completely 100% healthy. If that means she has to miss multiple weeks, so be it, because you don't want to get into the habit of her rushing back from injuries when she's not fully healthy, and we know if one nagging injury can lead to another nagging injury. So the best thing that the Indiana Fever can do, regardless of what Caitlin Clark wants to do, you have to protect your star, your superstar, because she's going to want to get on the court. But until she's 100% healthy, she does not need to play another basketball game for the.
The numbers don't lie. Caitlin Clark has been targeted in a way no other player has this season. According to official stats, 17% of all flagrant fouls in the WNBA have been committed against her. Even more alarming, 80% of those fouls came from one team. That's not a coincidence, it's a clear pattern. From the very start of the season, the hits have kept coming. From Kennedy Carter's blindside body check, to the Chicago Sky's coordinated targeting, to the eye poke and shove combo in the Connecticut game, Clark has endured a level of physical abuse that would have ended careers in earlier eras. What's even more frustrating is the lack of real consequences for the players dishing out this punishment. Marina Mabrey, who slammed into Clark right after she'd been poked in the eye, got nothing more than a technical, later upgraded to a flagrant, but no suspension, no serious penalty, just a fine. And now, she and others remain free to keep going after the league's biggest star.
Real talk, a lot of y'all records she coming for. She coming for him. At the end of the day, y'all can't stop nothing, bro. Y'all trying to beat her up and bruise her up and take her out the game and injure her, bro. We know what the motive is, dog. Like, don't nobody like that. I don't vouch for that. I don't like that. You hear me? Y'all not leading. Look, y'all need to get that out y'all heart. Cause that's some deep demonic stuff. The way y'all thinking and how y'all moving and having y'all little meetings and all of that and want to plot against this woman and her teammates that have her back. Y'all better leave her, Sophie,
The reaction from Caitlin Clark's fanbase has been swift and unforgiving. Social media is flooded with calls for her to leave the WNBA altogether, with many saying the league doesn't deserve her and never did. One frustrated fan summed it up: if Caitlin Clark decides to quit the WNBA and go play in Europe, I wouldn't blame her. I'd applaud it. Let her get as far away from this league as possible. And if that move ends the WNBA, so be it. That comment reflects the mood of thousands who've watched their favorite player get physically targeted without real protection. The numbers prove just how much the league relies on Clark. When she was injured earlier this season, national TV ratings dropped 55% from 1.81 million viewers to just 847,000. Fever ticket prices fell 47%. Meanwhile, Clark gets hit, reacts, and ends up with a technical foul while her attackers walk away with little more than a fine. The message fans are receiving is loud and clear. The WNBA is more focused on keeping its veterans happy than protecting its biggest star.
Finding out this morning that we probably need to hold out again today. It's just, it really is a day-to-day thing. And I think for us, making sure that we're prioritizing her long-term health and wellness. It's anybody who's had some of these types of injuries understand that sometimes it's a process. She's a quick healer, and she's been doing everything that she can to get back on the floor. So, we just want to make sure that we're hypersensitive to the big picture.
Perhaps the most frustrating part of all this is how mainstream sports media has responded, or rather, how it hasn't. They've rushed to celebrate Caitlin Clark's success and the record-breaking ratings she brings, but they've stayed silent about the constant, targeted physical abuse she's endured. The same outlets that couldn't stop talking about the Caitlin Clark effect have all but ignored the Caitlin Clark targeting effect. And when veteran players and analysts dismiss valid concerns about her safety as just special treatment, they miss the point entirely. This isn't about race, it's about protecting the athletes who are pushing the sport forward. Tiger Woods wasn't protected in golf because he was special, he was protected because everyone knew the game needed him. Clark deserves that same protection, not because she's a rookie, not because she's popular, but because she's the engine driving the WNBA's future.
But I'm going to keep saying it. Something is going on. I don't know what it is, man, but that's uncalled for. And we can see it. I don't know if we need to look into the committee, with the higher up player, the veteran players. I don't know what we need to look at, but we need to look somewhere. Because
Stephanie White's uncertain tone while discussing Caitlin Clark's injury should be a wake-up call for WNBA leadership. When a head coach can't get clear answers about the health of her star player, a player who's been repeatedly targeted with little to no consequence, and when that same player may be eyeing overseas options, the league isn't just facing a basketball issue. It's facing a full-blown crisis. The WNBA now stands at a crossroads. Will it continue to watch as its most valuable asset is worn down by opponents using intimidation over skill? Or will it finally recognize that protecting star players isn't favoritism, it's just smart business and basic human decency?
Let's look at the WNBA and Caitlin Clark. Who is set to make WNBA players more money? Is it Angel Reese, the author of the Me Bound? The Me Bound that she's now going to copyright, and she's trying to get all the rights to it so she can glorify the Me Bound? Basically a made-up stat for someone who can't hit layups? No, it's not Angel Reese. Does Angel Reese help add to the legend that is Caitlin Clark? For sure. Caitlin Clark is going to print money.
Caitlin Clark's current injury status listed as day-to-day, with no clear timeline for return, highlights everything wrong with how the WNBA has handled her treatment. While players like Marina Mabrey and JCS Sheldon continue to play without facing meaningful consequences for their actions, the league's most electrifying star is stuck on the sidelines, possibly questioning whether the nightly physical toll is worth it. Fans see it, even if the league refuses to. When Paige Buchers calls the pressure on Clark inhumane, she's not just referring to media expectations, she's pointing to a system that demands elite performance while allowing her to take hits that would sideline most players.
No secret that Caitlin Clark has been struggling in her shooting since coming back from injury. She had that big game right after the initial leg injury where they played the Liberty, they beat the Liberty. She had 30-something, Sabrina had 30-something. It was a fantastic game. But since then, she has been really struggling from the field. There's been reports of her maybe having her migraine issues again. There's been reports of her in interviews, she's been coughing a lot and kind of sniffling, was she sick? And now she is out for tonight's game because of a groin injury. And even in her post-game interview the other night, she said, it felt good coming out of my hands, and then it just wasn't going in. They feel good. They feel like typical Caitlin Clark shots. She doesn't feel like anything is different. but then they just weren't going in. And then we saw this at the end of the game the other night. Almost looked like it was her leg and ankle again. She gets up. Erica Wheeler comes and helps her. She's doing some stretching. We're like, oh, is it the